嘘でしょ。何今の。
何今の So 何 what and 今の So you don't have anything after no. So you might think this no is the note that links none together and that she's just not saying what comes after imano, but actually it's more complicated. But whatever, nani, like what was it? Imano, like what just happened. Ima means now, but it can also mean now is an just before. It's once again Japanese short version of what was that, like what just happened. So we're going to skip the long speech of the teacher. So, well, he's lecturing them and he's talking about like the photography artists. Here you can read maybe Alfredo Hitchcock, so Alfred Hitchcock. So he talks about movies, about photographers, etc., etc. But like it's too complicated, and I don't think that you want to learn vocabulary about the photographic world. Like I think that you don't care. For the moment, it would be cool to know how to say some everyday life words. So when we'll get to some kind of conference Japanese, then at that time, maybe we'll come back and translate what he says. When I say that he speaks kind of like a teacher, it's not completely true because he kind of speaks like a badass anime character, you see? And you kind of feel that he is kind of conceited. You feel his personality much more than in the English version, actually. But that's because in Japanese, since you have tons of ways to say things, depending on your personality, on how you want to convey information, etc., etc., you feel people's character even more.
ここはいつもの教室。大丈夫。落ち着こう。
ここはいつもの教室。So you see still no da. She has not used da once until now. So really, when you want to speak casual Japanese, don't think that you have to transform des into da. Because actually da is almost never used unless when you have to follow some grammar rules that we'll study in details at some point. Otherwise, you have few situations where you can use it and you should use it, but in many situations, you just don't use it actually. ここは So, ここ means here, and the wa indicates that we are going to talk about here. We are going to add some information about ここ. Then, いつもの教室. So, since いつもの教室 is after wa, it indicates that this is the piece of information about ここ. So, basically, ここはいつもの教室です. So, in most cases, いつも means always, but here it's more gonna be something like usual, regular, but it makes sense since いつもの教室, literally it would mean the classroom of always. So yes, like the regular classroom, as it's always been until here. So ここはいつもの教室. So here is the regular classroom. So like just before I was in this strange place, but now I'm like back in my usual classroom. Then 大丈夫. Still no da, just 大丈夫. So okay, it's fine, I'm fine. And 落ち着こう, 落ち着こう. And o, when you have a verb ending with o, it means let's. So 落ち着こう, let's calm down.
カラー、キアロスクーロなど技法は様々だ。では、人物の内面をモノクロ写真で完璧に捉えた写真家といえば誰だ？
居眠りなんかしてない。それに夢にしてはリアルすぎた。
誰か？
何なの？
居眠りなんかしてない。居眠り to dozel. してない comes from する so to do, but it works with 居眠り。居眠りする to dozel. And then ですなんか is just used to kind of emphasize the word that came before. So nanka works with the noun, and it's when you want to express some strong feelings about that word. Like you're very surprised about it, for example, or you want to belittle it. So here, of course, she's very surprised. She wants to emphasize that no, she was not dazzling. She wasn't doing anything like this. So it's kind of got a such a thing nuance, you see? It's kind of such a thing. No. それに、夢にしてはリアルすぎた。それに、and then, 夢にしては for a dream, リアルすぎた。It was much too realistic. It was too realistic. Sugiru is too. It was too real. So それに besides 夢にしては for a dream リアルすぎた. It was too real. And here again we have なんなの. So what was that?
ダイアン・アーバスです。
なるほどね。なぜそう思う？
アーバスの作品に捉えこんなダ作ジェファソン先生には見せられないよ。
こんなダ作ジェファソン先生には見せられないよ。So こんな is part of the Kosowa system. So こんな、そんな、あんな. And basically it means this kind of, this type of. So literally it should be this kind of bad work. But it's also used as in such a, in the negative way, when you want to be negative about something. So here it would rather be such a bad work. Then you have Jefferson sensei ni wa, so the target ni to Jefferson sensei. And indeed, miseru means to show. So it's kind of like to show to Jefferson sensei. So basically, it's not what you show, which then should be o for the object. So konna dasaku o, which here is omitted, but it's to whom you're showing this. This is ni, the target ni. And at the end of the verb, you have rarenai. Rarenai. So nai, we've seen it before, it's for the negation. But originally, it's dareru. Dareru. And so an ichidan verb with dareru is the potential. So you will translate it with kan. Dareru kan. So I can't show Jefferson sensei such a bad work.
クラスのみんなにも笑われる。
クラスのみんなにも笑われる. So here it's a bit tricky. So 笑われる comes from 笑う. And when you have あれる, you see 笑われる, then it means it's the passive voice. But here the passive is used to express that the action is done by someone to the detriment of the speaker. So the speaker perceives it as harmful for himself, like it's not cool. Someone's doing something to me and that's not cool. So you won't even translate it by a passive, actually. You can just translate by they will all laugh at me, and that's it. This is a kind of passive that we don't really use in our languages. It's Japanese passive. And you have the ni particle after minna, because when you use the passive voice, ni indicates who is actually doing the action. So here, it's everyone that is going to laugh at her. So minna ni mo warawareru. With a normal passive, you would translate it by. Like for example, the mouse was eaten by the cat. Neko ni taberareta. By the cat. And after ni, you have mo to add the also meaning of mo. So literally, I will also be laughed by everyone. So not only Jefferson is going to say that, like, I suck, but everyone is also going to laugh at me.
られた失意の人々の目には危機迫るものがあります。ペンケース、いい加減に買い替えた方がいいかな。
ペンケース。いい加減に買い替えた方がいいかな。So ペンケース、well, ペンケース。買い替える、買い替える。So when you see a verb that is kind of combined with this 変える, it adds the meaning of changing, of replacing. So 買い替える, it's to buy and replace. I will buy a new pen case to replace this one. Then you have た方がいい, た方がいい. So past tense on the verb. And then 方がいい. So this is an expression to express that you'd better do this. You should do this. And いい加減に is an expression that is a bit hard to translate, but it's kind of, that's enough. Like, let's cut it out. So I should really replace this pen case because it's so old.
でもこのレトロな感じが気に入ってるんだよね。
でもこのレトロな感じが気に入ってるんだよね。でも but at the beginning of a sentence only. このレトロな感じが。感じ is feeling or vibe. It can also be like vibe or even impression. 気に入る is a good expression that you should remember. Basically, it's to like, but in the meaning as to suit one's fancy. So, 気に入る that becomes 気に入ってる。気に入ってる It should be 気に入っている。気に入っている is the ている form. You can just ignore it for people who don't know it. It won't change anything in your translation. So whatever. 気に入る、気に入ってる whatever. We'll explain it later. But something is weird because it should mean I like this retro vibe. Yet, we have ga after retro na kanji. Yet, it should be o because I like what? This retro vibe. So, you have ga because you should use ga when you use a verb about your taste. So, basically, to like or to hate. You should use ga because it's about your taste. So this is why you have ga. So ga does not only indicate the subject, it can indicate something very different. It's used with kind of a list of verbs or expressions that are related to the taste, to skills, etc., etc. So just learn the verb list by heart and it will be fine. So basically, you never say manga o 好きです. You would always say manga ga 好きです and this is the same. And you see that the sentence is ending with nda, so you have nda after the verb. So once again, you can completely skip it. Don't be disturbed by having this nda at the end of a sentence. Because anyway, in English, in most situations, you won't even translate it because it's too subtle. It's just here to add kind of an explanatory feeling to the sentence, so kind of an emphasis effect. But once again, you're not even going to translate it, so you can just keep it when you see it. So, but, でも, but, 気に入ってるんだよね. I like このレトロな感じが. This, この this retro vibe.
例えば
サボらずにちゃんと毎日書かなきゃな。
サボらずにちゃんと毎日書かなきゃな。So サボらずに So サボる is to slack. To slack off or to skip school. And when you have a verb in a form with ず So something like あず、書かず、買わず、泳がず、飲まず, you see, a plus z, it means without doing this. So, サボらず, literally, without slacking off. ちゃんと is kind of diligently, properly. And 毎日 is every day. And then you have 書かなきゃ. So, when you have a form plus なきゃ, so basically it should be the negation plus きゃ and you like omit the E or rather transform it. So kakanai, negation form, and then kakanakia. But to keep it simpler, like a form plus nakia. So kakanakia, nomanakia, ikanakia, etc., etc. Then it means to have to. Nakia, to have to. So, literally, I have to write every day properly and without slacking off.
このシーンの出来上がりだ。
カメラを入れてるバッグ、ボロいけどお気に入り。
カメラを入れてるバッグ。カメラを入れてるバッグ。So here, once again, you see that you have this ている form. 入れてる。入れてる. So in oral speech, you almost never use the I. You always drop it. So it won't be 入れてる. It will always be 入れてる. So here, why do you have a ている form? Because it's the result. So basically, it means that you've done an action, and because you've done it, then now it's in the state. So since you've put a camera in your bag, now it's in then. It's in. It's got a camera in it. So this is the trickiest ている form. The other ている form are rather simple, but this one is a bit tricky. So when you want to say that something is like in somewhere, that something's got something in, you might use 入れてる. 入れてる. If you use 入れる, it just means that you are putting something in. But when you want to say that it's in, then 入れてる. And so here you have a relative. You see that you have a verb stuck in front of a noun. カメラを入れてる バッグ. 入れてる plus バッグ. So in Japanese, when you have a verb right in front of a noun without anything between them, it means that it's a relative. And you have to kind of reverse the whole sentence. So first you translate the main noun, so バッグ, the noun that comes after the verb. And then you translate the relative, so the little sentence that comes before the noun. So first バッグ, the bag, カメラを入れてる, which got a camera in it, literally. So be sure to always translate the head noun first, and then you should be able to translate the relative. Basically, the point is that the clause, so the relative that you have before the noun, is just some precisions about the noun. So, okay, there is a bag, and what can we say about this bag? We're going to add some precisions. Well, it's got a camera in it. Then, ボロいけど、お気に入り. So, お気に入り is the same as 気に入る. 気に入る. It's the same, it's just that here it's kind of the noun, but like, it's the same. So, お気に入り means your favorite, something that you fancy. So here it's the noun. It's not the verb, it's the noun. お気に入り. Something that you like. Something that suits your fancy. And then ボロい, worn out, and けど is but. So earlier we've seen でも, but でも, as I told you, is only used at the beginning of a sentence. You can't use でも in the middle of a sentence. So if you want to say but in the middle of a sentence, you use けど. ボロいけどお気に入り. So ボロいけど it's worn out, but お気に入り is like my favorite. I like it. And you see that once again, Japanese omits so many things and you don't need so many words to say anything. ボロいけどお気に入り. Like it's worn out, but I like it. You just need ボロい, worn out, けど, but, and お気に入り, to my liking, etc., etc.
要は安直すぎるんだ。
お気に入りのアナログカメラ。ちょっと一枚撮ってみようかな。
お気に入りのアナログカメラ. And here again you have お気に入り, お気に入り. So here she's kind of listing all the things that she likes. And she likes as in a personal preference, you see. So everything that suits her fancy. So here, お気に入りのアナログカメラ. So as you can see, it is indeed used as a noun. 気に入る is a verb, but here, since you have no, so no that connects two nouns together, you indeed see that it's a noun, but of course, it's also used as an adjective. So お気に入りのアナログカメラ, the analog camera that I like, that suit my fancy. So we understand that she's more into analog camera than in any other camera. And then ちょっと一枚撮ってみようかな。ちょっと一枚撮ってみようかな。So 一枚 in Japanese, when you have to count something, you can't just use the number. You can't just say, I'm gonna take 1, and that's it. I'm gonna take 2, and that's it. No, you can't say this. Whenever you are counting anything, you need a counter. And so you have tons of counters. You have counters for people, for little animals, for big animals, for socks, for thin and flat things, etc., etc. And so here, my is the counter for flat and thin things. And indeed here she's talking about a photo. So it's thin and flat, so she's going to say my. And know, by the way, that after a counter that is used this way, you can't use o. It's forbidden. Then 撮ってみようかな. So once again, we have this o. So I told you, o at the end of a verb, it's let's. So basically, 撮る to take as in to take a picture. So let's take 一枚 one picture. But you also have this てみよう. So it comes from てみる, 撮ってみる. And てみる, so a te form plus 見る, it's when you want to say something like, let's give it a shot. Let's try it, but let's give it a shot. Try it, you see? So you can't really translate it in English. It's complicated because once again, it's like too subtle for English. It will often be like this. There are many things in Japanese that you won't be able to translate in English because it's much more subtle than what we can do with our languages. So like just, let's take a picture. Let's try, like literally, let's try to take one picture. And the chotto, that basically means a little, is used a lot. You will see chotto in almost every sentence. Just kind of ignore it, honestly. And then you see here that it's written jidori o suru. Jidori o suru. So suru, to do, okay. To do what? Jidori o. Jidori, in kanji, it's written, ji is for myself, self, and toru, we've seen it, it's to take a picture. So to take a picture of oneself, literally. So it's a selfie. Jidori o suru, a selfie. So to take a selfie.
しい瞬間を捉えていたらどうだっただろう。あれだけのセンスの持ち主なら別のアプローチだってできたはずだ。ちょうど今マックスが自撮りを撮ったぞ。